In the moonlit embrace of rural Victoria, the decadent town of Buckley beats with a hidden heartbeat, the sanctuary of free-willed kindred. An anarch haven since the gold rush, Buckley's shadows hold secrets, its nights untamed. Yet the looming spectre of the Camarilla now threatens the delicate balance. As long-forgotten feuds simmer, a group of neonates bound by loyalty and survival find themselves at the epicenter of a power struggle. The Camarilla's tendrils tighten, and Buckley teeters on the brink of open war. Welcome to the dance of shadows in Buckley, where the anarch flame flickers against the encroaching night, a tale of defiance, politics, and the seductive allure of eternal power. This is Creatures Such As We, a Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition actual play podcast, presented by DM Fiat. I am your storyteller, Dale, or DG, and tonight I shall be your guide through this hidden and treacherous world of darkness.
Welcome back, everyone, to Vampire the Masquerade Creatures Such As We. You've taken your first baby steps into this world of darkness. Somehow, you've managed to survive your first night as monsters. You've managed to feed on your own, to learn the etiquette of hunting, to cover your tracks, and you've even uncovered some leads, made some headway into this murder mystery that you've been working on, your own murder mystery. You've come up with a name and a place. Kezia and Poseidon, the yacht dealership. I'll just place a link to Owlbear Rodeo in the Discord channel so you can see the map of Buckley and look upon the locations you've visited so far and where exactly they are in the city. Before you succumbed to the day sleep, the last thing on your minds was a burning desire to follow the leads you'd uncovered, to investigate further, and find out who you could avenge yourselves upon. Find the people who thrust you into this nightmare and make them pay. And now, as the sun sets, as the blanket of darkness covers the city of Buckley, as the city centre comes to light and the streets glimmer with neon and the white haze of street lights, the blood in your languid bodies begins to move of its own accord, begins to pump through your vessels, working the black magic that animates you, calling upon the curse to manifest, bringing you back from the void of death. I'd like everyone to start this night by going ahead and making a rouse check for me to see whether or not you wake up hungrier than when you laid yourselves to rest last night.
Barry made a success.
Barry's not hungrier. Lovely.
Wisteria failed.
Wisteria. Zarya failed. And how did Robert go?
Success, so he's not hungrier.
Not hungrier. So, your consciousness is jerked out of blackness. Your eyes flicker open. You sit bolt upright as you're brought to full wakefulness by those ever-present pangs of hunger, by the growls, anticipatory hiss of the beast in the back of your mind. Night has fallen again, and it is time once again to give in to your nature. Barry, as you sit bolt upright, as you look around and spend a few seconds remembering the events of the previous night, remembering where you are, that you're not in your home, that this was not all just a horrific nightmare, that you're here in Wisteria's safe house in the basement underneath a shitty motel with 5 other vampires. You become vaguely aware of the fact that your phone in your pocket is ringing, vibrating against the skin of your right leg. You fish it out of your pocket. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, Barry's just gonna make sure he moves out of earshot of everyone before he picks it up.
Glance over your shoulder, see what the others are doing. They're all staring around the room, locking eyes with each other. You notice by the looks on their faces that they're pretty much feeling the exact same thing you were, hoping against hope that this was all just a horrible dream, and then having reality crash down. Go ahead, Wisteria.
Addendum. Wisteria is currently putting videotapes into shipping boxes. 6 of them.
6 of them. And over in the back of the room, Gil's thrashing around, punching his fists into the mattress on the floor, and as he looks around, sees that you're all still here, that you're all still in this nightmare, he just loudly shouts, "Fuck!" clenching his fists and slamming them once more into the concrete floor, leaving a crack behind. Barry, you shuffle away into the corner of the room, taking shelter behind a stack of old wooden crates, out of earshot, out of eyeshot of the others. You peer down at the old Nokia phone in your hands and recognize the number blinking on the screen. It's the station, the police station.
Oh, it's the call.
There's a beep. The first thing you hear on the other end is a gasp, someone ceasing to draw breath for a second, and then the voice of the woman you spoke to the previous night. Barry? Barry? Oh my god, Barry, we've been trying to get in touch with you all day. Where have you been?
What'd you find?
Never mind that. Are you okay?
I'm fine for now. What did you find?
We've been calling on the hour every hour, and well,
What did you find on the number plate?
She composes herself for a moment, and then she says, "Yeah, well, we ran them, of course, and well, a name came back, but it's not anyone known to us, at least not."
Doesn't matter. Tell me the name.
She sighs. You hear her rifling through papers, hear her fingers clack on some typewriter keys, and then she reads off the name. "Mr. Nathaniel Black," she says. "It's registered to a Nathaniel Black. He's a businessman from Melbourne. Imports, exports, investments, venture capital. No idea what he or anyone like him would be doing in Buckley, and well, I don't know what kind of trouble you're wrapped up in, Barry, but
Is there
if
anything else you can tell me about Nathaniel Black?
What
Do you
can't I
have an
tell you? Sure, she says, we've got an address in Melbourne, hours away. No registered address down here in Buckley. Nothing in his file that would suggest why he'd even be down here in Buckley. There's some intel from the police down in Melbourne. Some suspicions of him being in contact with a couple underworld figures from down there, some standover men, illegal gambling, that kind of stuff. But, well, he's not connected to anything we've been looking into in Buckley. I don't know what kind of trouble you're mixed up in, Barry, but if someone like Black is involved...
Barry's gonna hang up the phone.
You hang up the phone, silencing her warning. You look around at the others. Wisteria, while you're placing these tapes into shipping containers, you're vaguely aware of the others waking up. You woke up maybe 10 minutes before them, went through the same mental gymnastics as them, and then decided it was no good to focus on what it could have been, but rather to get to work. And you're interrupted in your work right now by the sound of rattling glass. The sound of something tapping against the little glass window through which you let Robert in the night before. The little window on ground level that looks out onto the motel's parking lot.
Ah, the one I pushed the wardrobe in front of.
Yes. Which is probably why whatever's trying to get through at the moment is rattling the glass, tapping at it, scratching at it. Sounds almost like a cat begging its owner to let it in for the night, but far more insistent, far louder, far more potentially destructive.
Well, if this was an enemy, they'd have been in already. She goes and gets Robert to move the wardrobe, assuming he's amenable.
Is Robert amenable? How's he doing, having woken up, realizing that this is indeed his new reality?
Yeah, similar thing. Waking, like, comes to and then looks down, notices grey, stony skin. Like, oh god, it wasn't a dream. And then being sort of snapped back into reality from Wisteria asking, help him move it or move it out of the way.
So, as the rest of you hear the sound of the heavy wardrobe being pushed away, hearing the wood scrape against the concrete floor, your attention's drawn to that same rattling, scratching at the glass, and you whirl around just in time to see, as the wardrobe is pushed away, a impossibly large, shaggy black dog peering down at you all through the window. His front paws scratching, tapping at the glass, and when he finally is able to see through the window, when he's able to catch sight of the 5 vampires in the cellar staring up at him, the dog's eyes glimmer deep yellow, flickering in the night, and then he opens his mouth and barks, and turns and trots away into the darkness, suddenly no longer interested in the window at all. At least until about 30 seconds later, you hear the sound of the window being unlatched. An unseen hand slides the glass panel to the side, and then, materializing out of thin air, you see a familiar face, a familiar long-pointed bat-like face with twisted elf-like ears, narrow eyes gleaming bright yellow in the darkness. The face smiles, revealing a row of needle-like pointy teeth. Julian waves. Found yous all. Took me most of the rest of last bloody night before I had to bed down for the day. Sent me familiars out to look for you, and don't know why you didn't just take the safe house I provided. Set it up for nothing.
Terribly sorry about that. I figured you wouldn't be the only one looking for us, and I wanted to make it a little bit challenging.
Wonder, says Jessica, says Maleficent in the background, leaning against a wall. I wonder if your safe house might not have been a bit more luxurious than this one. Julian shrugs. Not much, but... Well, you'd have had time to have the full briefing, as opposed to me waking you up, dumping it all on your lap, and, well, I suppose, there was the matter of those two shifty-looking blokes in the car running a stakeout on the place. Probably would have seen you coming out, tried to start something.
On this place?
On my safe house, he says. Not sure how they bloody found it, but, that girl from the park, the caretaker, she was in the car with them, and,
Yes,
Hey,
we had a
don't-
word with her earlier.
I
She
figured
doesn't
as
remember
much.
anything of it, though.
Remembers that she's screwed up enough to send some of her mates looking for you, though, says Julian. Which is, why we should, get down to brass tacks and quickly, he says. He hangs over the rim of the window, poking his head into the cellar. Mind if I, he gestures with his hand.
Oh, of course you can come in.
The Nosferatu pulls himself through the gap, landing on all fours in front of you, and then rising to his feet, brushing dirt off the front of his clothes. He looks around, takes in the sight of you, takes in the sight of 4 hungry, uncertain-looking vampires who've just awoken from their first day's sleep. He claps his skeletal hands together. Well, you're not looking too worse for wear, he says. Couple of you looking a mite peckish. I suppose you've learned how to hunt on your own now, pull your own weight, so, that shouldn't be a problem. What I'm concerned about is... what's running through your minds? You didn't ask to be put in this situation. I bet you when you bedded down last night, you hoped against hope you'd wake up in your beds, in your homes, and that this was all just a silly nightmare. Only to wake up and learn that it's an endless living nightmare. A waking one.
You're a bit closer to the truth than I'd like. But that's about the size of it. That said, we did have a productive night.
Well, you must have if you got people looking for you already. Don't worry. I've come here to help you with that, hopefully.
Barry's
It takes... Go ahead, Barry.
Barry's just going to hand the burner phone back to Wisteria. Just say, this one's done. And then turn to Julian and ask, what do you know about Nathaniel Black?
Nathaniel Black? Not sure how his name popped up. And by the way, working with burners already, you're gonna go far. Maybe it's the copper sense. Maybe it's because they trained you to think like a crim. And us vampires, well, we operate an awful lot like crims. It's how we survive.
Yeah, well, I think I'm
Wisteria
learning
nods.
from the best. And just
Barry's been
looking at Wisteria.
invaluable. He has a knack for this kind of thing.
Nathaniel Black, he says, narrowing his eyes, staring into yours. You certain? You sure?
That was the number plate I got.
And a number plate. Which means he came into this domain driving his own bloody car, or at least one registered to him. So it's true. Cam must be making a move. Must be making a big one. He clears his throat. Alright. So,
We've
go
got
ahead.
a little more than that. Can we trust you, Julian?
well, now that you've dropped Nathaniel Black's name, and you're working against him because you spent all of last night trying to track down the people who put you in this mess, right? And you're not about to join with them. At least, that's my assumption. I think you could trust me for the moment. You ever heard the saying, enemy of me enemy's me friend, or however it goes?
Shall we share all with this nice man?
I want to insight check him first, please.
Yeah, go ahead.
Yeah,
mate.
I would as well. That's kind of.
Anyone who's suspicious may go ahead and make a wits insight check for me.
It's just good policy.
I'll do it.
Total failure. Seems honest to me.
3 successes.
3 successes. How'd you do, Wisteria?
Total failure.
Total failure. So, Wisteria, before you were a vampire, you weren't exactly the trusting type. Someone had to do an awful lot to earn your trust, and you'd grown quite used to handling things yourself.
Did Emma
Taking
get a roll as well?
charge. And so, Julian, you didn't... You don't know what to make of Julian, Wisteria. Sure, he seems friendly enough as far as grotesque blood-sucking monsters go, but really have no way to be sure. You, though, Barry, well, you're a detective. You wouldn't have gotten far if you haven't learned to read people, or at least read when they're being open and honest and when they're trying desperately to lie in your face. And for what it's worth, Julian doesn't seem to be blatantly lying to your face. You're still not sure what his game is. What dog he has in this race, but... Well, he seems earnest enough when he says, the enemy of your enemy is your friend. It seems like he's not sure whether he can trust you, to be honest, although dropping the name Nathaniel Black certainly seems to have piqued his curiosity.
Well, alright, Julian. I'll take a shot at you. Says Wisteria deciding to keep one thing quiet. But we'll offer something. We have 2 more names. That came up in a phone call with that lady who was watching your place last night.
Julian,
And those names are... Sorry. Yes?
What do you get out of this, Julian?
Get thinking like a vampire already. He is. He winks sad and jabs his right elbow in Barry's direction. Barry, do you let him do this as you feel the tip of his elbow jostle into your ribs?
I do, but I don't flinch. I don't give him a reaction at all.
Thinking like a vampire. Knows his place already, too. So, what do I get out of this? Well, if all goes well and you catch who's responsible for putting you in this mess, then I get to reap the rewards of helping the Baron possibly cut the head off a Cam invasion before it gets underway. See, I'm a Nos, and our clan are supposed to be the gatherers of information, the brokers of intel, and you all fell into my lap, crawling out of a hole in the ground on the very edge of my domain. That not only makes me responsible for you in a way, but it puts me in the prime position to learn the secrets of this mystery before anyone else does, and, of course, reap the reward.
There's a Baron involved.
A Baron, yeah. Well, most people would consider him the Baron, would consider him to be in charge. Not everyone. I suppose I should start at the very
Just
bottom,
describe
shouldn't
a Baron.
I? He looks around, taking in the sight of you as if judging whether you're ready to hear what he's about to, as if deciding whether you should hear it from him or if there's someone else perhaps more qualified. He sees Gil still sitting on the mattress, fists still clenched. He's composed himself by now, but you can still see the tips of his knuckles twitching, flinching, as the anger and the terror of the previous night still roll over him. Maleficent sits there, her arms folded, leaning against one of the brick walls, eyebrow raised in curiosity, and then finally his eyes linger on you, Zarya. I haven't had a chance to describe how you're feeling tonight, Zarya, and as Julian locks eyes with you, beckons for you to join the others to take part in this conversation. What state do we find you in?
I don't know. I feel like she's not. Obviously this is still a big change, but she's not that rattled by it currently. I also want to point out that I did a wits awareness, or not wits awareness. I did an insight
Ah, yes.
check. I got a 3 on that one.
Yeah, so pretty much the same results as Barry. You're not a detective, but social engineering has always been the most effective way to hack things. Getting someone to divulge a password, getting them to drop hints that you can use to put the password together, and it seems to you at least that Julian can be trusted, but you can't help but get this sense that in some ways it's almost as if he's taking advantage of you. That he's getting you to do the dirty work so that he can reap some kind of reward that you have no idea about yet.
Right. I think she does get kind of a sense that we might be getting put into something or set up for something.
Perhaps reading the look on your face, Julian smiles. Oh, and you know you're about to be dropped in the deep end, don't you? If you thought you had it bad last night, tonight's gonna be 1,000,000 times worse. He says, so, I'll tell you everything. I'll start at the bottom, we'll cover it all, including who Nathaniel Black is, he says, looking over at Barry. So this city, Buckley, there's a baron in charge. Top dog, ruler of all the vampires in Buckley, or at least that's the function he performs. It ain't an elected position, it ain't even really anything official, it's just that, well, Baron Sebastian Wilde's the only vampire in this place who's got the brains, the power, and the brawn to call the shots, to make the decisions that keep this city chugging along night after night.
Has Barry ever heard the name Sebastian Wilde before?
Go ahead and roll me an intelligence plus either academics or streetwise check, please.
We'll just street
Oh, do I get on that action?
Ah, we can hear you now.
This is one success.
Just one success? Alright,
Yep. Might have been in a history book. I'll take a roll.
go ahead. As I'll say, Barry, with one success, the name rings a bell, but you don't know exactly where to place it.
2 successes.
2 successes. Same for you, Wisteria. The name rings a bell. You can't quite place it, though you could swear that you read it in a book. An old book from a couple of decades ago. The 60s, the 70s, perhaps. Something to do with a casino. An owner of a casino, a bankroller of a casino, an investor. Maybe just someone who sponsored the casino, spent a lot of time there.
Well, he's telling the story. I'll sit back and wait to hear.
Julian nods. Ah, yeah, see, was a time, even among the mortals, when everyone had known Baron Wilde's name. See, Sebastian Wilde is, well, he's the anarch who came to this city at the end of the gold rush, wrested it from Camarilla hands, and established it formally as an anarch state. See, us vamps are city dwellers. It's rare that we'll leave the city in which we live, it's rare that we live outside the city, so each city in which vampires live, you can consider them something like a little fiefdom, a kingdom, a nation all their own. Some of them, most of them in fact, are run by a group we call the Cam, short for the Camarilla, Camarilla if you're talking to some people. And they're sort of like the vampire elite, the old boys, the elders who've come all the way from Europe bringing centuries, nay, millennia of traditions and blood feuds and grudges with them. They're the ones who came up with the traditions. They're the ones who came up with the masquerade. They're very picky about who they let live in their domains. They're very strict about who follows the rules. Any new vampire that's made is made strictly with the top dog's permission. That'd be the prince. More like tyrant, I say. But then there's the anarchs. Some cities, like Buckley here, call themselves anarch domains. The anarchs sort of broke away from the Cam. Consider themselves vamps doing it for themselves. They don't have the time or patience for elders using them as pawns in feuds that started centuries ago. They don't have the time or patience for all the many layers of strict rules and enforcement of them. Anarchs are doing it for themselves in cities where every vamp, no matter how new, how old, how powerful, or where you came from, or what you've got in your past, can have a fair go. And on top of all that sits the Baron, the one vampire who everyone trusts to get shit done. Or most trust, I should say. It's an anarch city. There are some out there still doing it on their own, still don't need anyone telling them what to do, whether it be a well-meaning Baron or a prince or anyone else. But most of us vamps here in the city, we respect Baron Wild, do what he says, and, well, he does right by the rest of us. Make sure any disputes are solved, makes sure any grievances are handled fairly, doesn't take sides, doesn't play favourites, and, well, we're pretty much allowed to do whatever we want in this city so long as we stay the fuck out of his way and his clan's way. Understand?
Right.
You mentioned the Cam earlier. Do you believe the Camarilla to be behind our existence?
Well, there's been rumblings for a while now, says Julian, thoughtfully. See, this city's been anarch, died in the war anarch for, hell, 100 years, more. But back during the gold rush, this was one of the jewels in the Australian Cam's crown. The city was a lot richer, a lot more important back then, and while it ain't anything like that today, the Cam never forget that they've been slighted, and, well, it's about time they started putting in an effort trying to take it back. There's been things happening of late. A bunch of things that would seem innocuous when you first hear about them, but all of them happening at once in sequence. There's been rumblings, and then Barry here drops the name, Nathaniel Black. He's a Ventru from Melbourne, and everyone here knows that guy's as Cam as they come. Used to be here in Buckley, was one of the Cam's, what was the word he says, primogen back during the gold rush, was one of the first ousted, went back to Melbourne with his tail between his legs, and now seems like he's starting to make his first steps back into his old domain. He turns to Barry. You said you got his number plate. If you trust me, if you don't mind me asking, whereabouts would he have been? I presume you went back to your home, check in on your family, right?
It was from security camera footage outside my house.
security camera footage. Which means Nathaniel was there either when you were embraced or when whatever happened to your family, happened. But it probably doesn't mean he was the one to embrace you. Ventru like that. Ex-Primogen. No, he wouldn't leave something like this to be traced back to him. He wouldn't be creating any child just to dump him in the ground, let him wake up and cause trouble for the Anarchs.
Oh.
I think I saw a tall, thin, male-identifying person who had long black hair.
Julian nods. He scratches his bald scalp with his long skeletal fingers and he says, Nah. Don't ring a bell to me. Black's, well, you wouldn't miss him if you saw him. Big guy, imposing, broad shoulders, 10 grand suit that's been tailored to fit every crease in his body perfectly. He says, but, I'd be willing to put a lot on the line to bet that he's calling the shots somehow.
I only know that that person has been here in Buckley for a long time.
We have 2 other names.
What passes for Julian's eyebrow, just a bony ridge on his face, slightly rises. Yeah? What else have you come up with? I mean, you've spent all last night poking around. I've got some info of me own. Let's do a fair trade, huh?
Very well. We've just told you something interesting, so why don't you go next?
I told you about the Cam and the Anarchs and the Baron.
All right. That's true. I'll drop a name, then you can tell me yours, and I'll drop the final name. Sound good?
He nods.
Kezia.
Instantly, his face screws up, his smile twists into a frown, and he hisses as he bares his needle-like teeth. Oh, of course that bloody bitch is involved. Kezia, he says. Bruja with a chip on her shoulder. He looks around the room. So, which of you are the lucky ones who remember having a run-in with her, eh?
Would you describe her?
Built, broad shoulders, short reddish hair, strong enough that she could lift you up as if you were only made out of paper and hurl you across the street. Oh,
That sounds
And
kind
she's-
of familiar.
yeah, he looks over at you, Gil. He sees you there, and Gil, we haven't had a chance yet to ask how you're feeling after the horrific night you had last night, having woken up here, perhaps expecting that maybe everything was just a dream, only to find yourself thrown into the deep end yet again.
Confused, but it is what it is, I guess. I mean, that's all it can be, right?
Yeah. Thing about Gil is, even though he's a Bruja and he has a temper, once he's made his peace with something, the temper just rolls away, and Gil likes to go with the flow, doesn't he?
Oh yeah.
That's how he's so dependable. Julian looks at you, studies you intently, and then he frowns as he sees the big crack on the concrete floor and the roughly fist-shaped hole next to it where you've pounded it in your anger, in the fit of hunger upon awakening for the night. Before you calms down, he nods. Yeah, I'd say you got the look of one of her little mob. And then his gaze lingers on Zarya, and I don't mean any offense, but, well, you don't exactly look like a dainty little thing either.
That would be apt.
So, Kezia. How'd her name pop up?
The lady in the park does jobs for her.
That's right, because Kezia's responsible for, oh man, Baron's gonna be fucking pissed. He says, see, Kezia ain't Cam. She's, an anarch, or
A
claimed to
turncoat.
be. Had some dodgy dealings in the past, but said they were behind her, and
The pieces are starting to fall into place, and I don't like the picture that's forming. Please continue.
says, see, here's the thing. Could be Cam. Could be the Cam pulling some shit, but there's also this other mob, a third mob. And they're called the Sabbat. Now, rounding up a bunch of mortals, embracing them, throwing them together in a Masquerade, letting them wake up and go through a frenzy and cause all sorts of trouble. That's right up their alley, but Kezia ain't part of a Sabbat pack. And if Nathaniel Black's involved, then either it's the Cam calling the shots, or the Cam's doing something with the Sabbat, or maybe Nathaniel Black ain't Cam at all, but
Or this is a giant. Well, this is a giant false flag operation. So, what was that information you were going to give us?
Well, info I was gonna give you is that the Baron needs to speak to you tonight, right now. See,
Alright.
words reached him. I won't deny that I had some part in it. Reached him about 5 brand new fledglings crawling out of the dirt in the Botanic Gardens and wreaking havoc on downtown Buckley. Now, I told him, I said these kindred, they've been thrown in the deep end. They didn't have any say in any of this. They're just trying to figure out what they gotta do to survive, and the Baron, well, Baron Wild believes in a fair go, so he's called a rant for tonight. That's what we call it when all the Anarch vamps get together. He wants to meet you. He wants to hear your own story out of your own mouths, and then he wants to tell you what you need to do to make sure everything's kosher here. As far as, your existence goes.
Ah, this will be the soiree. Of course, he's peerage after all. May I ask a question?
Go ahead.
This rant, will it have a VCR on hand?
I can send word
television.
ahead. Television, yeah. Can send word ahead. You need something to play a tape? Sure.
We've got something entertaining.
If the Baron would find it interesting, then I'll send word ahead.
I believe he might. She flickers her eyes towards Zarya. Before then, are you going to take us there? Are you going to give us the location and we turn up in our Sunday finest?
You've been in Buckley most of your lives, ain't you? Except for you, of course. He looks over at Zarya. Accent gives that away. Surely you've heard of the Gold Rush Casino, right there in the CBD, down south, couple blocks north of the stadium. Place was opened back in the 1950s. Oldest and, quite frankly, best casino in Buckley. Probably, well, he looks over at Barry, he says, you know it better than me, only place in Buckley to go if you want any sort of nightlife at all, right?
Something like that.
Well, that's where the Baron holds his court, as it were. Top floor, secret lounge, kindred only. I'll leave it up to you to figure out how you're getting in there. After all, Baron wanted to test you. And what better way to test you than to see how you treat getting into the rant?
Top floor of the casino. Very well. Alright.
Usually, kindred like us, provided we speak to the right people, we got no problem getting in there. Which is why it shouldn't be that hard for you, if you're smart. Either way, Baron Wild's there, a couple of his advisors will be there, some of the local warlords, most of the Anarch coteries of consequence. They're all very eager to meet you, and, well, I'll warn you right now, not all of them are keen to be sharing the city with 5 brand new licks.
I understand.
Well, that'll be your job to convince them otherwise, eh?
Do you think Kezia shall be there?
Nah, he says, thinking on it. I don't reckon she'd be stupid enough.
What about Mr. O? That's the third name, by the way.
Mr. O. See, that one don't ring a bell. Definitely no Anarch.
Probably one of her minions, then. The lady in the box described him as a middleman.
Could be a ghoul, he says. That is someone immortal. Gets a hit of vamp blood once a month. Gives them some powers. Stops them from aging. When you want someone to do your...
Stops them from aging?
Yeah, until they stop taking the vamp blood, then all of a sudden it catches up to them in one single moment and bloop. Well, I've seen a ghoul was on the stuff for 100 years. I've seen him miss his dose by a day and woof, like a time lapse. His hair fell out, his skin turned all leathery, dropped off, guy was dead in a matter of minutes. It's when you want someone to do your bidding, but you don't want to make another vampire, you make him a ghoul, understand?
And that's okay.
As long as you make sure they don't go around telling everyone they're on vamp blood and spoiling the masquerade, sure. Make as many as you think you can handle. They're your responsibility. Hell, normally the Baron wouldn't even mind if you made new vampires, but with all the stuff going on with the cam and... Well, at the moment, he'd appreciate it if people asked permission. That's why you 5 are such a big deal, you know? He says, well, one last thing. Rants aren't anything special. Don't get into mind that you're going to some opera or high society party or anything like that. It's a gathering of vampires. They air their grievances. Baron hears them, makes judgments, has the warlords bicker for a little bit, decides what he'll do. But, well, if there's one thing Anarchs respect, it's strength, competence, people who respect themselves. If you don't respect yourself, then what are you to the Anarch cause?
Understood.
So, make sure you spare a little thought for how you present yourselves, eh? He looks over the room, he says, and that's about the long and short of it. Any questions? Good.
I think we got a handle on it.
And Robert, you were saying something?
It's just the one you were talking about who could have embraced the others, and well, I know I've only been here for one night, but you're the only other, what do you call it, Nosferatu we've met.
Yeah, we're the same blood, says Julian. Spot on, but yeah, I didn't embrace you, but that's one of the things I spent most of last night doing. See, us Nos, we're supposed to be a fairly tight-knit clan. Which means, if none of us Buckley locals embraced you, then someone else... He frowns. Look, I haven't got anything promising, not yet. Not yet, at least. Leave it with me. Maybe the Baron will have some more info for you, but just so you know, in this city, Nos look out for each other. And even if you were embraced by someone from the cam, you're still one of us, so... If anyone asks, And he thinks before he continues, and then finally smiles. He shrugs. He says, "If anyone asks who you belong to, just say Julian for now, eh? No one should think to ask twice. Well then, I'll leave you all to prepare. Rant starts in about an hour. You're not expected to be there as soon as the Baron holds court, but don't leave the court waiting. You're the guests of honor after all. And any hunger, if you don't think you can deal with the hunger pains, make sure you settle that, make it all square before you show up, eh? There'll be refreshments at the Rant, of course, but you're new, you're babies, and, well, if you're messy eaters, it won't really endear the Baron to you." He winks, and then you watch as he hoists himself back up through the tiny window, squeezing through it. You turn to glance at each other, and when you look back at the window, he's gone, disappeared into the darkness outside.
What do we all think?
I think we should give it a few minutes, just to make sure he's left. Then she rummages in the box. She puts the wardrobe back into place with Robert's help, rummages in the boxes, pulls out a, it's the 90s, it's an old boom box. Sets it to play fairly loudly to put up some white noise, and this says, "I have a suspicion I know what's going on."
The sounds of Bauhaus float throughout the cellar. Bela Lugosi's dead, undead, undead.
What do you reckon?
I believe that we were meant to be a casus belli. I'm still digesting everything that he explained. It's a lot to take in. But there are 3 warring groups. One of them used to have this city, one of them didn't, and one of them they both hate. And the one that used to have this city frowns on things like what happened to us. So if that happened here, and what did he call them? Cam scouts happen to move in and find a whole bunch of staked vampires in an anarch's territory, and they could say, "Oh, look, they're working with the Sobad," or whatever they were called. Why, we need to move in and settle their hash.
So they're trying to make us out to be a scapegoat for a war, for a masquerade breach.
I'm thinking we're a casus belli, a call to war, a reason for them to invade. Look, the anarchs clearly can't manage their turf. Look at all this stuff, which we secretly did.
Baron Wild can't be that good at his job if he lets mistakes like us happen, right? Says Maleficent.
That's what I'm thinking happened, and of course he's got some local malcontents on this who might be looking to be the next Baron or whatever. It's the kind of thing that happens in the old peerage families. They try to one-up each other.
And of course, we're talking about people who've been nursing wounds for 100 years, says Maleficent.
Oh, God.
So,
that would do it.
So, Gil and Zarya, do you reckon it's this Kezia that's your sire?
I don't really have anything else to go on.
Kind of checks out.
You vaguely remember her, Gil. You rack your brains. That night at the cannery, at the abandoned factory, waiting for your mate, waiting to make the exchange, and whoever showed up, it was a woman. Though you didn't think it was a woman at first, her frame was so big, silhouetted against the darkness, that you thought it had to be a man. It had to be a bloke who knew how to rough people up, and then she stepped out into the dim light, her face illuminated in the full moon, and short reddish hair, muscles so big that they were straining underneath her clothes, looking like they were about to burst through the fabric. That sounds like Kezia to you.
Now here's a question. Do you mind playing the videotape for the Baron when the time's right?
Who are you talking to?
She asking me.
Both of you, actually.
No, I don't mind.
I'm thinking that would definitely get us better in the Baron's good books. And Julian let slip that we were supposed to be hunting them. Not just spying on them, not just ferreting them out, but hunting them.
Do you think there's anything else we can collect before we go to this place? I mean, we've found information about myself, about Zarya, about Gil, but nothing about you, Wisteria, or anything about you, Robert.
No, and there won't be. We could swing by my place. I could check the security cameras, but I suspect he's come and gone and maybe taken a few good things. Actually, is my place on the way?
Your place would not be directly on the way. Wisteria's safe house is right next to Buckley Harbour on the edge of the CBD. To head to the rant from here, it's pretty much due east, but to go to your shop, you'd need to travel north over the creek into Lakeside.
That would delay us by an hour or so, probably.
About an hour or so. However, not much further past the Gold Rush Casino is the wastewater processing plant on the border of the CBD and Platypus Creek, and this is where Robert remembers being ambushed. If there were any of the ambush sites you could check out and still have time to show up reasonably early to the rant, that would probably be the one.
I'm open to checking out the wastewater site quickly. I'll pack the clothes I'm going to take to the rant.
What do you
So
think?
you should probably keep the videotape. You're very quick. It's unlikely to be lifted from here. If anyone else needs any other supplies from here... Does this sound like a plan?
I need to change your clothes. Can't be my cop uniform.
2, says Maleficent, and I don't think we should split up. I think we should stay together just in case. Make sure we all go to this rant thing together and arrive together. You know.
Oh yes, you're
etiquette.
absolutely correct. Not the least because the folks who made us the people who have made us now have had a full night to digest what has happened, and they'll be looking to take us out of the running before we get there. If they happen to lay eyes upon us. So yes, we should stick together. Alright, you need new clothes, check the second closet. Should be something in your size here about his... No, he's a little bigger. No, you have to tuck them in. That's fine.
So here's a question for you all. How are you going to make yourselves presentable for the rant? Are you going to just try to find a reflective surface, fix your hair up, wash your face, or are you going to accept Wisteria's offer and go digging around through these crates for clothes that will fit you, hoping you're able to put together some kind of ensemble that looks presentable?
I don't think Zarya is going to worry too much about it.
She is a hacker, she is a computer nerd, and she's probably been to
is
a million conventions wearing nothing but tracksuit pants, sneakers, and stained Marvel superhero t-shirts. But Barry, you were saying something?
Yeah, Barry's just gonna wash his face and get rid of some of the blood from that gash he got from Gil.
Yeah, probably nice. And as you do this, you feel the blood surging through your body, and the voice in the back of your head whispers, "Make it all right, right as rain. A gift from me to you in return for blood. At any time, you may rouse the blood to heal any superficial damage. That's how it works in Vampire the Masquerade. Any superficial damage you have, for the cost of 1 rouse check, you can heal, regardless of whether you get hungrier or not, an amount of superficial damage determined by your blood potency. So as you saddle up to an antique dresser, peer into the dusty mirror, begin to fix your hair, straighten the collar of your jacket, remove the dirt and scuff marks off it, and notice that big, gaping, bleeding gash. Will you rouse the blood to heal that, or just do your best to cover it up?
Yeah, part the hair different way.
I think, yeah, Barry's going to give it a try.
Go ahead, make a rouse check for me.
Oh, that's a failure.
You get hungrier, and the voice in your head says, "A gift, expecting a gift in return." Slowly, the gash before your very eyes heals. The cut closes, and the blood fades away, and soon there's just pale white, sickly skin where it used to be. Any pain you had instantly vanishes.
Barry's just sort of shocked and files
But
it
not-
away.
Not very surprised. Shocked, but not very surprised.
Yeah, and he's just gonna get rid of his police uniform and just put on just like a decent white button-up shirt and some black dress pants and all that kind of stuff, and that's it.
Yeah, after a few minutes of searching, he manages to find some that fit him fairly well, and he looks far more approachable, not dressed in his uniform. Your uniform always makes people act a certain way, Barry. If you look like a copper, people will treat you like a copper, and nobody is willing to be open to a copper. You look far more approachable this way. Wisteria, what do you do?
I have a pretty good memory of my sire's face, didn't I? Seem to recall rolling pretty well on that.
Yeah. You can remember you can remember her, the woman with black hair.
Oh, it was a
fitting-
she. Okay.
Wait, who did I describe the first time?
A blonde man all in
Yeah,
white.
blonde man, that's right. Sorry, I was mixing you up with someone else's sire, yeah.
Ah,
That blonde-haired man, his blonde hair coming down past his shoulders. It almost, in a way, makes you think of a soap opera star. He had those rugged, good looks, but perhaps the most distinctive thing about him that you remember is that white suit. Pure white. So white that it seemingly glowed in the darkness.
excellent. She'll pack a white suit as well, and a blonde wig of about the same style. Along with another change of clothes and her toolkit in a messenger bag.
Robert, do you do anything to make yourself presentable for the rant?
Yeah, he'll try and rummage around for some semi-decent clothes just to, like, pack in the car or something, because we'll get changed on the way.
You probably don't want to turn up in your security guard uniform. It's covered in blood and muck. Your face. You think for a moment maybe you should cover your face, but then you realise what Julian said about the Nos being an established presence in this city, and you figure, well, if someone who looks like him's allowed to rock up and not cause a scene, then it shouldn't be any different for you. Just the same, though, there's still enough humanity left in you as you look at your face. Look at that gargoyle visage staring back at you. Something tells you should cover it up, try your very best to pass for normal, but then you give in. That's not who you are anymore. You're a Nosferatu now, and you should look like one. And finally, Gil. Gil looks pretty much presentable all the time. There's something about you, Gil. It doesn't matter whether you're covered in dirt or blood. It doesn't matter if you've been brawling in the street. When people see you, they seem to instantly trust you. Something about the way you smile, the way you wink, the way you hold yourself, but just as well. Is there anything in particular you'd like to do?
I think Gil would be the kind of guy who would wash his face, comb his hair back, tuck his shirt back in properly, like trying to look neat and tidy, but like he's not wearing nice clothes. There, with jeans and a thick work shirt, like Billy shirt. So he's not. He doesn't look formal and represented, but he's not terrible looking.
Not terrible looking. When he steps out from behind the stack of crates, he's still wearing the same jeans and t-shirt, but the t-shirt's tucked in now. His hair's combed back, and it gives everyone else the impression of a messy teenager begrudgingly tucking his shirt in because his mum's told him to do it for the 10th time in an hour. Then Wisteria steps out, clad in form-fitting white business suit, complete with a pencil skirt that comes down just past her knees, and a wig of long, luxurious blonde hair on her head. Wisteria, I'd like you to go ahead and make for me, with this ensemble, a charisma or composure plus performance check.
Oh, that's not one of her good ones.
Or etiquette.
Oh, that's a little better. Let me find the dice. One success.
Success. It's very obvious to the rest of you that that's Wisteria there. Her face stands out. You can see a couple of the locks of her black hair poking out from under the hem of the wig. You're unsure why she's trying to make herself look so drastically different.
The wig's a bit too much, isn't it?
Up to you if you'd like to leave it off. Yeah, Zarya seems to think so.
It gets chucked in a corner. Well, the suit should suffice. I don't want to be too blatant.
I'll upgrade you to 2 successes. And everyone else who's preparing themselves for the rant, I'd like you to go ahead and make a composure plus either etiquette or streetwise roll for me.
Ew.
Two successes.
Lovely. Robert, Zarya, Gil?
I just could have based you a failure. Can I re-roll my failures with a...
You can take a point of superficial willpower damage and re-roll any dice in your pool that aren't hunger dice.
What was the check?
Sounds good to me.
So it'll be a composure plus either streetwise or etiquette.
Oh shit, girl.
Only 1 success from Robert.
Maybe 1 success.
1 success for Gil. Fair enough. He's not putting in a lot of effort. So Gil, you find yourself as you're straightening your hair. No matter what you do, it seems to get messy again. After a while, you clench your fist, feeling frustration well in the pit of your stomach, and slam your fist into the mirror, immediately shattering it and deciding, this is good enough. It'll have to be, whispers the beast in the back of your mind. And then you all step out into the center of the safe house, taking stock of each other. Wisteria's safe house is by no means a high-fashion boutique, but there were enough clothes scattered here and there among the loose crates that you were each able to find something that fits and looks okay. You don't look like you're ready for a night on the town, but you don't look like you'd corpses that just crawled out of a mass grave either. You look like you're friendly. You look like you're doing your best to appear unthreatening, or for those of you who rolled streetwise, threatening in just the right way that might appeal to the sensibilities of the Anarchs. Either way, you're probably good to go. So,
Alright.
where to? Straight to the rant, or are we going to the wastewater plant on the way?
What do we think?
I believe we'd... Go on, sorry.
No, I was just asking, what do we think?
If you're willing to, I'm willing to.
Robert?
Yeah, it's nearby and it could help us learn something else.
What
So
else?
I think we should.
And of course you're curious, Robert.
Mm.
Your sire. You're the only one in the group who doesn't have a name, a vague flash of memory. You're the only one who was grabbed, pulled into the drainage tunnel from behind. You never saw the face of your attacker, and there's a morbid curiosity welling up inside you. So, the wastewater station it is. You all see that look of resolve written on Robert's face and decide he, at least, deserves what the rest of you have, an idea. A place to begin to understand what's happened to him.
Along the
Wisteria-
way,
Go ahead.
Wisteria will deposit 6 different packages in 6 different mailboxes.
Wisteria leads you all out of the safe house, up the narrow flight of stairs, through the tacky motel lobby. The same man behind the counter who was there last night, he barely looks up from the girly magazine he's flipping through. And then the doors close behind you and you're once again out in the cool, windy autumn night. As you make your way to the car park, you pass by an array of red Australia Post parcel boxes, and Wisteria stops, depositing 6 packages, each into a different one. Then, when she's done, with a flourish, she leads you into the parking lot.
What was that for?
Insurance. In case we lose video evidence.
Wisteria's
Right.
driver. Yeah. As a cop, Barry, this probably immediately sets off a number of alarm bells and raises red flags to you. And for you, Gil, this is probably just standard operating practice.
Yep.
The car that brought you to the motel the previous night is parked there on the edge of the parking lot, the engine idling. Wisteria's driver winds down the driver's side window and the little portly, baby-faced man inside waves silently. "Where to?" he says as you all clamber into the limousine.
Oh, we'll get an address near there.
You give him an address about a block away from the wastewater station. He nods and silently gets to work, turning the key in the ignition. The engine roars, carries you out onto the streets and into downtown Buckley. It's only about 9:30 p.m. by this point, and Buckley's already winding down for the night. It is, after all, a small rural town. Population just over 350,000. This is not Melbourne, this is not Sydney. Most of the population of Buckley, when the night falls, retire to their homes, safe and sound, where they sleep, only emerging for the next identical day of work. But there are still a few on the streets. Teenagers, young adults, those who would have reason to be out at night. But as the limousine carries you through the CBD, you all can't help but notice just how empty it seems to be. And you can't help but wonder how how this city has sustained apparently an entire society of vampires. There's not a lot of mortals on the street, not a lot of blood to go around. No wonder the rules about where you're supposed to hunt are so strict, you think. Finally, the limousine arrives about a block away from the wastewater processing plant. It parks on the curb in front of a shuttered law firm with a laundromat beside it. The laundromat is the only business still open on this street. The bright light inside flooding through the front window, bathing the limousine and your faces in a white haze. Wisteria tells the driver that you'll be back in a few minutes. He nods, leaves the engine idling, and then you clamber out of the limousine. Your feet touch down on the concrete, and as you begin to walk towards the wastewater processing station, what's the plan? You're just going to rock up, see what you see. It's been about 2 nights since the attack now, so it's likely that the mortal authorities would have had time to come check the place out. You might come up... You're half expecting to see police tape around the premises when you rock up.
Anyone have any ideas?
Well, I could slip around and case the joint, as it were. See what I could see. Guys, flick over to Robert. As could you.
You want to go together?
Yeah, that could be a good idea. Just make sure no one we don't want there is there.
She reaches into her messenger bag and pulls out a black catsuit. Give me a second. Slips back into the limousine. Quick change comes out again.
Pulls it on over her white business suit.
Oh, that'll work.
So, assuming you're both using Unseen Passage, go ahead and make rouse checks for me.
Yeah.
Yeah, why not?
Rouse check, right?
Total failure, that's why not.
Yeah. It was success on my end.
Success, you do not get hungrier, but Wisteria does. And as the rest of you watch Wisteria and Robert fade away, dematerialize, you see that familiar look of hunger on Wisteria's face. Her eyes glimmer blood red, knowing that the beast is calling upon her to take it. Take what you need, what you deserve. Is anyone gonna follow along behind, or are you gonna wait here by the car for these two to return?
So they were just walking right up with Unseen Passage.
Yeah. Oh, have you got Unseen? So they're both in Unseen Passage. If you have it, you can go along with them. Otherwise, you can just keep a distance back, try to be a bit stealthy in case anyone is there. It's up to you.
Remind me again why we're here.
So, this is where Robert was attacked, and
okay.
You're hoping there might be a couple last-minute clues you can pick up that might come in handy at the rant. You never know.
This is wastewater treatment, right? Does Zarya see any security cameras? I can roll for that, too.
Zarya, go ahead and make me a wits awareness check.
Okay. That's one of my really good ones. It's good. Critical 7.
Critical 7, nice. So, the wastewater processing plant is at the end of the street, past the little brick shops that line both sides of the road. There's a long dirt road that leads from the end of the street down a hill towards the little creek down below, towards the fields of sludge and raw sewage. And You don't see any cameras, any on the street or any watching the trail that leads to the wastewater station itself. However, Zarya, you do notice towards the end of the dirt trail, about 2 meters away from the front entrance of the wastewater processing plant, there's a small guard booth with a red and white boom gate closed, barring access to the rest of the trail. You can see a single humanoid silhouette framed through the window of the guardhouse. Beyond the guardhouse, the trail continues on until it reaches a big cast iron gate. The entire wastewater processing plant is encased behind thick chain link fences, spools of barbed wire rolling across the top.
Okay.
Zarya stops and she whispers, "Over there, a guard, see?" And Wisteria and Robert, you see the guardhouse, the boom gate, the single guard inside, absent-mindedly staring at a portable TV mounted on the wall.
I can go entertain the guard while you two head on ahead.
That works for me.
Yeah, that should work.
Yeah,
Does Barry
Robert
still have his badge?
I'd say, yeah, Barry still has his badge. He's just not wearing it at the moment.
Leave him to me.
Barry, you're not sure you like the way Wisteria says that.
Sorry, what?
The way Wisteria says, "Leave the guard to me." You're not sure you like that, and you're aware of the weight of your badge in your pocket.
I could give him a reason to turn over all their security footage.
What do
We
you
don't
think?
know that they have any footage.
Wisteria pauses, and you hear her whispering, "All right, if you want to try to talk, go and talk. I'm going to go look around."
Another way.
And the sound of her footsteps retreating.
So,
So
Robert...
As her willpower wins out.
Yep. Zarya, you were saying something?
I was going to say, let's all be careful if we do go inside of those UV lamps. I can't imagine those would be very kind to vampires.
Yeah. Just beyond the chain link fence, the entire yard of the wastewater facilities absolutely brightly lit with very bright orange UV lamps. So, Robert and Wisteria, you've got Unseen Passage activated, so you don't have to roll. You creep ahead of the others, and the rest of you, the only evidence you have to see that Robert and Wisteria are there at all are their footsteps, their footprints compacted into the dirt track, slowly leading away towards the guardhouse and then branching off to the side as they begin to trudge through the grass. The two of you are able to make your way around the perimeter of the premises fairly easily. There's no one capable of spotting you. You're entirely invisible. And you find 2 possible means of getting in. There's the main entrance, the one behind the guard station, the street level entrance, the thick wrought iron gate. You try it, and of course it's locked, and there's a thick industrial grade padlock attached to a chain wound through the handle. There's a spool of police tape laid across the front of the gate. And a notice stating that it's to be sealed until further notice. The other means of possible entry you find, Robert and Wisteria, is a large concrete pipe. It's right on the shore of the small creek, and a seemingly endless torrent of viscous, sludge-like black water trickles out of the edge of it. It's an outflow pipe. And even though you haven't even gotten close to it, already the stench emanating from it is enough to make you grateful tonight that you are no longer human, because the moment you breathed that in, you'd be doubling over, throwing up the last day's worth of food in utter disgust.
Is that pipe? Is that where I was setting up the cameras, or was it at a different spot?
It might be the same pipe, but you weren't setting anything up here at this end of the outflow pipe. You recall doing your work a bit closer to where the pipe starts. There was a maintenance hatch that you had open, and that's where you saw the trail of blood leading inside. Either way, you're going to have to get onto the premises. Meanwhile, Zarya, Gil, and Barry, you're left to approach the guard shack if you'd like to. You've no idea where Wisteria and Robert went.
What do you think? Do you think this will be a good plan?
So this entire thing's surrounded by like cyclone wire, right?
Yep. But I will point out, with your wrecker ability, Gil, you could make short work of any part of this fence.
You read my mind. Gil kind of like motioned to the cyclone wire and took his hands, and I mean, you wouldn't need to necessarily go through the guard to get him, right?
Yeah, you could just pick some other part of the fence, avoid approaching the guard entirely. You don't have to go in through the front. You can pick some part of the fence around the side and just smash through. But Barry, you're the cop here. You're the one who knows how to handle investigations. What do you think?
Maybe I should have a look around and see if there's any sign of how Robert's attacker was able to get in.
Yeah, sorry, I'm still not much for listening to cops. Zarya's gonna activate, is it Soaring Leap, and then jump over the fence?
Jump over the fence, yeah. So, you all step off the trail, you begin trudging over the grass, following the passage of Wisteria and Robert before you. You can see where they've been. You can see the blades of grass bent over, crushed underfoot. And the guard, never once does he look up from the little TV screen he's watching, tonight's football game in black and white. Before long, you've bypassed the front gate and the guardhouse entirely. You're making your way along the shore of the creek towards the outflow pipe, and the stench is starting to grow stronger and stronger, and that's when suddenly Zarya takes a running leap forwards. Her knees compress, and then in a single motion she takes off, moving like a blur, leaping at least 3 feet into the air, sailing over the barbed wire and landing gracefully on all fours on the other side, kicking up a dust cloud around her that emanates from the concrete that she's landed on. Meanwhile, I'd like Barry to go ahead and make me a Wits plus Investigate check.
Did my...
Yeah, sorry, go ahead, Ember.
Oh, I was just gonna say, did that Soaring Leap require rust check?
No, it's a level 1.
Oh, okay.
4 successes.
4 successes. You look along the base of the fence, You're looking for signs of break and entry. Maybe someone took a wire cutter to a portion of the fence, managed to sneak inside, and you're really desperately hoping that whoever attacked Robert didn't go through the outflow pipe. The closer you get to it, the stronger the stench of feces and rotting food becomes. And then about 2 meters from the very end of the chain link fence, you see it. A small circle, an oval, upright in the fence. Just wide enough and just tall enough for someone with a particularly small frame to creep through. They've covered their tracks. On the other side of the fence, they've pushed a rust-flecked green dumpster up in front of the hole to prevent anyone from following them through.
Wisteria's going to take a brief look around. Are there any cameras out here?
Not a one that you can see. Zarya seems to have been right. This is, after all, just a wastewater plant.
Awesome. She'll slip back to the guard booth.
Back to the guard booth with no one there.
No rush. You can handle the others.
Meanwhile, Robert, you see Barry and Gil and Zarya approach. You watch as Zarya deftly leaps over the fence. You watch Barry uncover the hole and then swear loudly as he tries to shift the dumpster out of the way, but can't. You're still unseen, but they know you're here. If you think this is an acceptable means of getting inside, you could ask them for help, or you can simply brave the outflow pipe.
Yeah. Nah, having realised it was like where he was grabbed was like more towards the entrance, he's gonna head over and help them out.
Yeah. So, Gil, you hear Barry calling your name. He motions you over and you see the big circle cut out of the fence, the heavy, trash-filled dumpster on the other side, and you watch as Barry and then presumably Robert take turns trying to move it. You don't see Robert at all, but you see the dumpster shake and rattle as he presses the full force of his body against it, and between the two of them, they only succeed in dislodging the dumpster by about an inch. You feel your face twisting into a smile in spite of yourself, Gil, as the beast inside you purrs with anticipation.
Oh yeah, Gil sings that voice. He's just going to go over and kind of reach inside himself and push the blood to help him out. Move the bin.
Help move the bin, yeah. So I'll ask how you'd like to do this. I'll give you 2 options. Either you can make a strength athletics check to push it out of the way, the old-fashioned way. You are a big bloke after all. Or, for the simple cost of 1 rouse check, you can activate your Wrecker ability and just punch it straight out of the way. No harm done, no need to fuck around.
I think Gil's feeling like he needs to test his abilities here. I'm going to go for Wrecker.
Go ahead, make me a rouse check. Hope you don't get hungrier.
Not all. He's doing good.
Doing good. No hunger, but still that gasp, that anticipatory growl from the beast as it wills the blood to pump through your veins. You clench your fists and feel power unlike anything you've felt before. You look over your shoulder to make sure the others are watching, and then you step forwards, pull back your fist, and slam! It collides with the side of the dumpster with a crash as The dumpster is flung off its stumpy little legs into the air. It flies backwards about 2 feet, and with a loud crash comes to rest as it hits the concrete wall of a building and slides to the ground, spilling trash bags, empty cans, and discarded industrial equipment over the concrete.
Well, damn.
Jesus Christ, Bill.
That was cool.
Meanwhile, at the front, Wisteria, you're casually approaching the guard shack, still invisible, still unseen, when you hear this cacophonous crash coming from somewhere around the back of the facility. Instantly, the guard jolts. He looks away from the black and white football game, presses his face to the grimy glass window, and his eyes widen as he rapidly looks from left to right, trying to find the source of the disturbance. After a few seconds, he realizes he can't see it, so you watch as the door to the guard shack bursts open, and the security guard,
Excellent.
who it occurs to you is probably one of Robert's co-workers, steps out into the night. The street lights and the moon illuminating his denim blue uniform, his ever-present
Excellent.
5 o'clock shadow, his long black hair.
And when he steps into the shadows, Wisteria takes him.
She takes him to feed.
Yep.
As he steps out, you're standing behind him, invisible. He did not see you approach, and as he swallows, composing himself and
She
prepares
does
to...
have the presence of mind to check for cameras before she does this.
Yeah, and you're lucky there's not a one.
Excellent.
Who would think to
Thanks,
have
Zen.
cameras guarding a wastewater facility? Who would ever want to break in to a place like this? The
Yes.
security guard takes a step past you towards the dirt track, and that's when you're on him. You reach out, wrapping your arms around the front of his body, pulling him towards you, pulling him down into the shadows behind the guard shack. He opens his mouth to scream, but your hand's already there. He struggles feebly under your supernatural strength, and then you bare your fangs and sink them into his neck, and the warm blood begins to pump down your throat. The sweetest thing. It's addictive. It's downright addictive, you think. It's like you've taken the first hit of the world's most powerful drug. Every drop you take, your body years for
Can't
more.
take too much. Can't
The
take too
beast.
much.
The beast
Can't
urges you more,
take
more,
too
more.
much. Behave and there'll be more later. We have to be good.
Do your very best to compose yourself. What is your hunger currently at?
3.
3. It's hard. It's hard. Your voice whispering out loud, "Don't take it all, don't take it all, just what you need." And the voice of the beast louder, fighting with it. More, more. He's a beefy fellow. So much blood. Surely he doesn't need it all. You can take more, more. You wrench
I never
yourself
take
away.
More than I need. I just need a lot.
And with sheer willpower, you rip your fangs away. Blood begins to dribble down his neck. Instinctually, you lean over, lick it, and the wound is sealed. The man's pale from blood loss. He takes one look up into your now visible face. His mouth opens and he stammers, and then his eyes roll back in his sockets and he falls limp in your arms in a dead faint.
And she quietly drags him. It takes a while. Back to the guard shack. Back into his chair. What a dream this will have been.
Props him up and turns away just as raucous cheers emanate from the TV as one of the teams kicks a goal. Hopefully for the sake of him, his team. Hopefully something good will happen to him this night. Back on the other side, Robert, you crawl through the gap that Gil made, and then Robert and Barry follow behind.
Just before I do, can I tell from the hole whether it was made with any kind of tool or whether it was done like unnaturally?
It seems to you it has all the hallmarks of a professional job, wire cutters. The cuts on the links are far too neat and clean for someone, even a vampire, to have just ripped it open through sheer force.
Okay, thank you.
You make a note of this in the back of your mind, and you watch as Robert's footprints kick up small clouds of dust as he makes his way across the courtyard. And Robert, I assume you're heading right to the maintenance hatch, to where you were attacked.
Yeah. Straight there, see if we can find anything.
As you go, and as Barry and Gil hang back and guard the hole, I'd like you to go ahead and make me a wits stealth check, and you may add your obfuscate as you currently have unseen passage going.
I'm gonna roll with it. It's a messy crit 7.
Messy crit 7. You sure you'd like to take that messy crit?
Yeah.
Hurry, hurry, urges the beast. The answers are nearby. Everything you've been looking for, it's within reach. Keep going, keep going. The three of you, Robert, Gil, Barry, you become vaguely aware of someone whistling somewhere in the darkness, somewhere beyond the edges of the orange haze cast by the UV lights, the UV lamps that thankfully don't seem to do anything to Kindred. Barry and Gil quickly duck behind the dumpster, watching and waiting to see if they can see the source of this whistling, while Robert continues ahead, unseen. Robert, you round a corner, begin moving down a short, narrow passage between two large concrete buildings, heading towards where you remember the maintenance hatch to be, the whistling growing louder and louder, and then at the end of the passage you turn right, begin heading towards the big concrete outflow pipe, and the beam of a flashlight is cast in your face, nearly blinding you. You raise your hands to block it out and see a single security guard there. He can't see you, but he gets the sense that something's there. Maybe he can feel your presence. He holds the flashlight on you, the beam lingering on your face, and then you watch as his left hand slides down to his belt, down towards the holster where his service arm hangs. And that's when the beast urges you. More. Don't let him get in the way. Continue on. It's just there. It's just there. He can't see you. You've got the upper hand. And before you even know what you're doing, Robert, you feel your body moving of its own accord. Feel the beast taking command. You lash out. And before you know it, your fangs are sinking deep into this security guard's neck. He begins to gurgle as you grab him, breaking your unseen passage, pulling him down to the ground. And as he sees this gargoyle's face, this demon's face leering down at him, he opens his mouth to scream. But the scream never comes as you drink and drink and drink. He gurgles. And then the beast relinquishes control. Robert, lying at your feet is the bloodless corpse of someone you recognize. Michael Ross, the new guy. If it's the same guy, this was only his third shift. He's perhaps no older than 20 years old, working the night shift as a security guard to pay for uni. And now he's there, hanging limply in your arms, his face forever frozen in an expression of utter terror. It's at this point, when you hear footsteps coming from behind you, Robert, you whirl around just in time to see Gil and Barry step around the corner. And then you, Barry, Gil, you see Robert cradling this pale, obviously bloodless man in his arms, blood still dripping down his chin.
What the fuck have you done?
I didn't mean to. The thing in the voice that took over. I wanted to find out what happened. I saw him and and he just like keeps like babbling on like that. Just like, I didn't mean to.
It's Michael. I didn't mean. And as you babble, there's something that makes you very unsettled, Robert. Something you can't deny. Somewhere deep down in your psyche, that momentary sense of elation, of jubilation as he walked into your trap and you sprung it like a trapdoor spider. You shake your head, trying to force it out of your mind, and then it occurs to the three of you, the Masquerade, covering your tracks. You can't leave this man here.
What do we do? Is there anywhere we can conceal him?
There's the dumpster that's lying on its side, crashed and crumpled against the wall of one of the buildings. Aside from that, the only other place you think you could put him, and you feel instinctual disgust as this idea floats into your head, would be in the outflow pipe. Open the maintenance hatch, drop him in, and well, it'd probably be weeks, maybe even months before anyone found him. And by the time they did, there'd be barely anything left to identify him by.
I think Gil would suggest that. Just outflow hatch.
Open the hatch. Gil steps forwards, he flexes his fists once again, grabs the rusted handle of the maintenance hatch that's built into the side of the concrete cylinder, and with a single grunt, pops it open. Instantly, the stench of rot and death flows out, overwhelming your senses. You feel your eyes begin to water, even though you're no longer alive.
Surely there's a better way than this. I mean, we could make it seem like something else other than I don't know. This is disgusting. He's a kid.
He was a kid. We've got a couple of choices to make, and none of them are good.
This is just what we have to do now. This is how you survive. And so, Gil's the one who does it. He carefully extracts the body from Robert's arms. Robert's still holding the body, still babbling, still rocking back and forth. And Robert, once the body's taken out of your hands, once you feel the weight taken away, you feel in control once again. You push the turmoil into the back of your mind and follow Gil as he makes his way towards the maintenance hatch, and when he reaches it, slowly hoists the body off his shoulder and lowers it down, using his foot stamping on its chest to press it down into the viscous black sludge until it's no longer seen. And as you
sure that Robert's not seeing this, and just trying to calm him
stand
down.
in front, calm him down. But Robert, there's a curiosity burning inside you. Do you try to push past Barry and see your handiwork?
I don't think he would. He'd still be like basically trying to like just regressing a little bit to like the previous night of like, no, it's just a dream. It's just none of this is real.
Barry, you place a hand on Robert's shoulder, look him in the eyes, and do you give him any words of encouragement?
This is just how it is. But we got each other, alright?
You're not condoning what he did, but reminding him that this is what has to happen. This is your life now. And once Gil's disposed of the body, once its face has sunk beneath the sludgy, oily black surface, Gil motions for you to come forwards, and as you do, Robert, you recognize that this is the place, this is where it happened. The trail of blood is gone, been cleaned up, but just inside that hatch, about a meter into the pipe itself, that's where it happened. As you peer into the darkness, you can almost feel something hidden, something unknown peering back at you. You so desperately don't want to go in there, Robert, but part of you needs to know. What will you do?
He's gonna sort of takes a moment and focuses himself, steels himself. And just, he's gonna ask anyone else wants to before anyone to head in, because he has to know.
You clamber over the hatch. Go ahead, Gil and Barry. Are you heading in too, or are you standing guard here?
Yeah, I'm coming with Robert.
Gil's guard, he'll make sure no one else come in.
Holding the hatch open as Robert and Barry step over, sinking into the sewage with a squelching sound. Robert and Barry, the sewage, it doesn't feel like water. It's solid, more viscous. It feels like you've stepped into a pool of rancid blood, sauce, sludge, soil, mud, a million different things that aren't water. And there you see it. Or do you? Robert, Barry, go ahead and make me wits investigation checks.
That's a 4.
4. And Robert?
Yeah, I'm gonna re-roll that.
Re-roll that. Probably wise. This is answers of your own backstory we're looking for.
Oh, re-rolls into a total failure, so it's just 1 success.
1 success plus 5 makes 6. You're still a bit shaken by what just happened, and now that you're inside the pipe, it's so dark. You didn't prepare yourself for this darkness, and while you're still willing your eyes to adjust to it, to take the tiny bit of ambient moonlight and amplify it, behind you, you hear Barry whisper, under his breath, already having found what you've been looking for. Barry, you motion Robert over and you point to a scratch on the inside of the pipe. The outflow pipe has a poisonous stink. It's a good thing you don't have to breathe anymore, or the toxic fumes would surely poison you. Raw sewage drains into this place from across the city, vomited from thousands of homes, factories, and businesses. But there's one thing here that you're pretty sure should not have originated in any of those places. There's a jagged, rusted nail stuck in the concrete, perhaps carried down here by the sewage, the point of it sticking out, and hanging from the point of it is a tuft of animal fur. Not just animal fur, but a patch of leathery skin for it to be attached to. Bright orange. And as if that wasn't strange enough, the top of the pipe, the ceiling above your head, it's covered in, at first you think they're scratches, but then you realize they're track marks in the grime and the dirt. 3 little toes, long claws, and webbing. Animal tracks on the roof.
Does Barry recognize, do these correlate into any animals?
You could make me an intelligence plus, let's say, academics check, or animal ken.
Robert will be able to check that too, or?
Yeah, go ahead. Intelligence plus animal ken.
No. Oh, no, that's a bestial failure.
Bestial failure.
Good.
How many? So no successes at all on the bestial failure. How much does Robert get?
Let's see if I can get slightly better.
Alright, bud, I'm hungry.
Let's see. Okay, that brings up to 4 successes.
4 successes. So, Robert, there's a job you did about 2 years ago, before you got into this security gig, when you were still training. You did odd jobs for whoever was willing to pay. And one of these jobs involved clearing flying foxes out of someone's backyard. A whole colony of them had taken residence inside a garden shed, and every night they were wreaking havoc on the person's fruit trees on their garden. The little claw marks, the webbing, the bright orange fur. It makes you think of a flying fox, Robert, but impossibly large. You think of taking that patch of skin, that patch of fur, maybe to take a good look at it later, to find out if you can use it, show it to the Baron, and hope that maybe some of the other Nosferatu know who goes around sprouting orange fur and bat-like claws when beside you, Barry lets out a great shout, "Fuck!" and slams his fist into the concrete. There's a crashing sound, a cloud of dust and debris and plaster spill out as the tuft of fur drops off the nail down into the sludge and sinks below the surface. And Barry, control resumes as suddenly as it was stolen from you, as suddenly as the frustration welled up inside you. You were so close to catching, if not the person who if not the person who did what happened to you, someone who knows them, and only for it to be snatched away, only to find animal tracks and fucking fur.
As soon as control comes back, I'm reaching into the wastewater to find that tuft of fur.
And unfortunately, it's already gone. Either sunk down to the very bottom or carried further down the outflow pipe. You feel something solid in the sludge, things moving, but when you pull your hand up, a single fat slug drops off your thumb and blump, down back into the outflow pipe.
Yeah, I'm sorry, Robert. That I don't know what came out of me.
I've got no room to talk at the moment. But I did the tracks and everything. I think I have an idea of what it was.
Bat marks, claws in the ceiling, someone hanging upside down, someone creeping upside down, catching some of their fur on a stray nail. You don't have a name, you don't have an image, but you have something to go off. You give Barry a commiserating glance and then trudge back towards the access hatch. And Gil, as you hold the hatch open for them, as they climb out, both of them are utterly drenched in sludge. The stench seems to follow them like a miasma as you lead them across the courtyard, back towards the hole in the fence, back towards safety. A few minutes later, the five of you are back in front of that laundromat down the street, sliding into the back seat of the limousine as Wisteria's driver holds his nose, loudly proclaims, "P.U." as the engine roars to life and carries you once more into the sleepy streets of downtown Buckley.
Wisteria takes a look at his reaction, slides around to sit with him in the front.
And glares at them through the rear-view mirror, making them both very, very sure to clean themselves off before you reach the next destination.
Mm-hmm.
The limousine glides through the quiet streets of Buckley, including the time it took you to get to the wastewater plant and the transit between there and the casino. It's just after 11 p.m. when you finally see the great tower, the great gleaming pillar of light that is the Gold Rush Casino, 30 floors high, looming out of the skyline ahead of you, casting all of the CBD around it in its vibrant glow. With some mean looks from Wisteria in the rearview mirror, and the driver proffering a box of tissues and another box of wet wipes, forcibly jabbing them into Barry's chest, handing them over the head of his seat. Barry and Gil and Robert manage to clean off most of the gunk and sludge. None of it comes past your knees, so it's only your bottoms you have to deal with. It takes most of the car ride to get yourselves into a presentable condition again, and when you're done, the smell of raw sewage lingers in the cabin of the car, the driver's nose wrinkled up, him and Wisteria exchanging clearly unamused glances, giving you the evil eye every time the car stops at a set of traffic lights. And the whole...
This is especially problematic because Wisteria has gotten a jump start on her blush of life, though she's technically breathing.
She did the blush of life, did she?
We're going to be mingling now, aren't we?
Yes, you are. And so as Wisteria does that, as colour flushes into her pale skin, and she loudly announces, "Remember, miggling!" You see Maleficent sitting in the back seat, doing the same, and will anyone else attempt the Blush of Life? It costs only a rouse check, and it's active for the rest of the night.
Probably a good idea.
Barry's just after what happened in the pipe. Barry's just thinking out loud. It's like, should we try a feed first?
Words that ring true, especially to you, Robert. You're gazing out of the window, watching the buildings roll by. You drained, Michael. You felt the last drops of his life force leave his body, and yet the beast is not satisfied. An unmistakable pang of hunger growls in your gut as the beast urges you. No, that's not it. That's not it. You need to find more. Satisfy me.
Well, Julian did say there would be party favors upstairs, but we'd have to find a way up first. It strikes me as a bad place to make a messy feeding. I expect that we'll be watched the second we enter.
So maybe we feed somewhere before we head in?
She checks the time with her pocket watch.
11:09 p.m.
There's a little time, yes. I wouldn't want to go too far past midnight. There's a very little time. Can you be quick?
Yeah, I'll try.
Car parks in the parking lot.
And pick up some deodorant or something. You still reek.
Just in front of the Gold Rush Casino. The engine dies, and you step out.
Yes, this works. Those of you who are hungry feed. The rest of us can look for a way up.
You step out of the car into the parking lot. The gleaming pillar of light ahead of you, casting so much light that every wrinkle in your faces is visible. All of you except Maleficent and Wisteria, sickly pale, faces of death. So, who'd like to hunt, and who'd like to devote themselves to the task of getting inside?
I think Saria would like to hunt.
Saria would like to hunt. Barry would like to hunt. Gil? Robert?
Gil is looking really good right now. I've passed all my rouse checks. Right.
I had you feed last session, so you're still, the hunger takes longer to accrue sometimes. If Gil's alright, then maybe he might like to join the others, finding a way inside.
I think Barry's going to have a word with Zarya before we feed.
Yeah. You're gathered here in the parking lot as you divide yourself up into groups as Zarya steps away from the group, declaring her intent to go hungry, and the two of you walk away from the others, exiting the parking lot, beginning to walk at a brisk pace down the street that runs in front of the casino. Zarya, Barry's matching pace with you, and it's clear by the way he's looking at you he's got something to say.
Hey.
What was the deal with the wastewater plant?
Sorry, I had to turn you up. Can you repeat what you said? I couldn't hear you.
What was the deal with the wastewater plant?
What do you mean?
We just went in without consulting any of us?
Yeah.
That was the whole plan.
Okay.
Why'd you do it?
Do I have to have a reason?
Yeah, you kind of do.
Where does this cop get off, Zarya? You've never had to explain yourself to anybody, and you thought you were all in the same boat together.
Yeah, and she's not real keen on getting grilled by a cop either. Look. We're all new to this, and it's all kind of fucked up, so let's just chill. We cut each other a little slack. Nothing happened. If there had been anything that would have went wrong, I would have handled it. I already looked for everything. You don't have to worry about it. It's fine.
Well, I can agree with you. We are new to this. And it's exactly why we should stick together. And why we can't afford going off on our own, pulling off stunts that could get us all endangered. So I just like in the future, if you'd be a little bit more considerate of the rest of us. We're all in this together, right? Doesn't matter who we are, cop, criminal, security guard, whatever Gil is, whatever you are. We're a team now. So I just like it if we'd all act like it. Yeah?
I'm working with you, and I feel like, given my experience with cops, that's about, like, we're doing pretty good.
Yeah, well, hats off to you, I guess, but... Look,
I get where you're coming from.
Okay.
Probably the longest that Zaria's ever even given a cop the time of day.
Yeah.
So,
She gives him a really dirty look when he's not looking.
Yeah, Barry's just going to split off and just say under his breath, happy hunting.
You part ways. Some sort of tenuous understanding reached, and as soon as your backs are turned to each other, instinct kicks in. You're hunting, just like you hunted last night, only this time you know what you're doing. You're going through the motions, your legs begin to carry you without you even really putting any intention into it. Your eyes narrow, you sniff the air on patrol. So, Zarya, what is your predator type?
I'm an alley cat.
You're an alley cat. Of course you are. So, you're technically not in the rack anymore. You're in the vicinity of the Gold Rush Casino, and based on what Julian said, you can hazard a guess that most of the prime feeding spots here belong to the Baron, or at least the Baron's friends, which means you have two options. You can flaunt the rules, find a place with lots of people, and be guaranteed a good feed, or you can try to find someone who won't be missed. Some of the dregs of society, a homeless person, a drug addict, a criminal, a lowlife. But the hunt will be harder.
I think she's going to be more inclined to... I think she's going to be more inclined to find more of a group rather than...
Flaunt the rules? Sure.
Yeah.
And... Barry, what's your predator type?
Well, you know it. I'm an alley cat as well.
An alley cat as well. The same choices are open to you.
I'll try and be as hidden as possible, as far away from the casino.
As possible?
Now I know that the that feeding actually gives pleasure to people. I'm not going to be too picky on who I choose anymore.
Yeah.
So, whichever piece of meat comes my way, as long as it's not as long as I can tell it's not intoxicated, which I also figured out.
Yeah. Like Paradox said in the chat, yeah, you're more similar than you think, you and Zarya. So, Zarya, you're feeling like the hunger's getting to you, and now that you understand that you can control yourself, that they even find it pleasurable, you're not too keen on spending most of the night waiting for someone suitable to show up. You're gonna head straight to where there's life and take what you need and answer for it later. Go ahead and roll me a strength plus brawl check, please.
Oh boy, let me see.
Sorry, are we both doing this?
No, just Zarya for now.
Okay, no.
You'll get a different check because you're doing a different method.
Cool.
Ooh, this is not a good roll for me. Alright. This isn't good. Well, as well as it could. 2 successes.
2 successes. Laundry stretches between whitewashed stone buildings, and a long lane winds gently downwards. A few tables and benches are arranged outdoors where tourists and natives, couples, individuals, and parties dine, drink, and chat. The interior of the cafe is darker still. Solitary individuals are seated at the bar, and other groups occupy the booths. You stop in the entrance of the cafe, flex your arm, slam your fist into your palm, and scan for anyone who looks like they're keen. And then you see him. An alluring man staring directly at you. He's standing in the corner at the very back of the cafe, alone, in the mouth of the corridor that leads to the bathroom, to the changing rooms, to the staff area. The look on his face tells you instantly what he has on his mind, and as you meet his eyes, he beckons for you to follow. You follow him down the hallway, past the men's bathroom, past the women's bathroom, to a little storage closet right at the very end. You look over your shoulder. There's no one from the cafe in the hallway, and the sounds of the cafe themselves are dim, distant. The man turns his back to you to unlock the closet, and then you rush forward, slamming him against the door, baring your fangs and sinking them in as he struggles vainly, as he punches at your head in protest, and then the ecstasy watches over him as he's frozen to the spot. He gasps in pleasure. A few minutes later, do you pull away from him, or do you take it all?
He's gonna pull away. I don't want to leave too much of a mess here.
How much hunger are you at?
3.
3. You may reduce your hunger by 2. The man's long since ceased to struggle. Now he just leans there, his back against the wooden door, occasionally shivering, gasping in ecstasy, moaning orgasmically. You pull your fangs away, lick the wound, and when he finally recovers, when the haze of adrenaline, shock, and pure pleasure finally fades away, you're gone. Barry, I'd like you to go ahead and make me a wit streetwise roll.
Indeed. Three successes.
You prowl through a cobweb of tiny streets and side alleys, not venturing too far from the casino, but making sure you're not close enough that you don't accidentally feed on any of the patrons. Here, in the shadows, in the cracks between the brightly lit streets, bars, clubs, and nightlight spots, here is where you know the filth thrives. And then you find who you're looking for. A young man with a shaved head in a Manchester United jersey staggers down the alleyway towards you. He tips over a wheelie bin lying on its side in the middle of He tips over a wheelie bin, grabbing it, throwing it on its side in the middle of the alleyway, whooping with delight as he does. Then he gets down on all fours and begins rifling through the trash that's now strewn on the concrete. He doesn't see you approach. What do you do?
Is he intoxicated in any way? Or?
His eyes are wide, bloodshot, and he's laughing, giggling, as he rifles through old food wrappers and empty bottles. Eventually, he finds a half-eaten Mars bar. Not believing his luck, he lets out another great whoop and then shoves it into his mouth, chewing happily.
Was that a yes or a no?
That was what you make of it. He doesn't seem to be intoxicated, I'll say, but he's constantly laughing under his breath. His eyes are bloodshot. He doesn't look healthy.
I'm really hungry. You might have to do. I'm just gonna... I'm gonna grab him by the scruff of his Manchester United uniform and just chuck him into an alleyway.
Into an alleyway. He yelps as he feels your hands on him as you lift him from the pile of rubbish, toss him further into the alleyway, and descend upon him in the shadows. He struggles, but he has no match against you, and once your fangs are in, all the struggling ceases. He gasps, rooted to the spot as the ecstasy takes over, and his blood, warm, fresh, rolls down your throat, but it tastes different than it did last night. It tastes almost stale. Tastes like mothballs and dust and dirt, sadness, the downtrodden. What's your hunger at? 3. You have the choice. As you take more and more and find the beast growling, satisfied, even to this tasteless fare, you can realise you've taken what you need and pull yourself away, or you can take more.
That's what I need.
You've taken what you need. And so, you withdraw, sliding your fangs out of his harsh, leathery skin, wiping blood off the front of his jersey, and leaving him there in the mouth of the alleyway, vibrating with residual pleasure. He wasn't drunk, nor was he on anything. What you were seeing appeared to be the result of years of oppression, years of being downtrodden. They say those who are in terrible circumstances try to find light of them however they can, and perhaps that's what this man was doing, this homeless drifter. No one would have missed him if you'd taken him, but, well, you don't want to take another life tonight. And as you walk out of the alleyway, that feeling of sadness, melancholy flows through your veins, reflecting your mood to match. He had phlegmatic resonance in his body. He was calm, relaxed, enjoying his night, He couldn't believe his luck when he found that chocolate bar. And so, for the rest of this night, any Auspex or Dominate that you use, you may treat as if you have an extra dot in that discipline.
Okay.
Essentially a bonus dice.
Nice.
Meanwhile, back at the casino, Wisteria... Oh, yep, go ahead.
Did I recover any hunger?
Yes, 2 hunger.
Cool.
Down to hunger 1.
Apologies.
Meanwhile, back at the casino parking lot, Wisteria, Robert, and Gil stand, their sickly faces vibrant in the white light. This great pillar ahead of you, and your task to find a way to get up to the 30th floor, to the Baron's personal lounge, to the rant.
Yep. Well, sorry. I was communicating with somebody else. What are we rolling?
Not anything yet, but
All right.
you want to
Well,
decide how you're going to proceed.
I'll start with the basics and case the joint.
Case the joint.
Go in, gamble a lot.
Robert, Gil, do you agree? Or would you like
Gil
to find...
rub his hands together. This is he's been here a few nights, I'm sure.
He sure probably has.
Probably been kicked out of here a few times. He rubs his hands together and is like, I think I know how to do this.
Could the Bruja's presence be coming into play? The instinct inside you seems to be alerting you to something, another thing, another gift of your vampiric state. So, you're all heading inside, Robert, Gil, and Wisteria?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
As you make your way across the car park, up the stairs towards the thick double glass doors and see the opulence on display on the other side of them, you remember Wisteria's words in the car. Blush of life, blush of life. She and Maleficent have already partaken. Will you be?
Gil definitely is already.
Yep, Gil is. He did not get hungrier. And Robert, are you going to use the blush of life? Bear in mind that you still have the face of a gargoyle, whether or not you do.
Yeah, that's kind of what Robert's thinking. He's not going to risk wasting the blood, seeing as like he might appear alive, but he still looks the way he does, so he's not going to.
And so you stop with the others in front of the doors. You see people, humans on the other side, those wearing the plush red jackets of croupiers, men and women dressed up for a night on the town, and all of them looking very normal and healthy. Robert, it's very clear to you, if you just walk through those doors into that casino, someone's going to look over. They're going to see your face. They're going to scream. And that's going to cause a scene.
I think... Yeah, given that he'll... as he was finding some clothes to change into after the waste treatment plant from Wisteria's hideout, he packed a hoodie just in case, because he was still feeling somewhat subconscious, so he'll just like put that on, pull it right over his face, trying to hide himself as best he can.
Pull the hoodie over his face? Sure. And making sure it's tight, pulled over your face, and upon getting confirmation from the others that your face is relatively hidden unless someone were to look up close, you step forwards. There's a loud bing, and the doors slide open, granting you access to this house of iniquity. Robert, I'd like you to go ahead and roll me a composure plus stealth roll, please, to keep your hoodie pulled down, to avoid walking too close to anyone, to make sure you stick to the places where no one can get close enough to peer underneath.
Oh. Okay, it's 3 successes.
3 successes. Very nice. I'm going to roll for someone who may or may not be watching within the casino.
Yeah.
2 successes. You follow the others into the casino. A couple of the patrons and someone by the reception counter looks up at you, but they evidently don't notice your face. Their gaze passes over you and they return to what they were doing. The gold rush is immensely popular, it seems. Even at this time of night, just an hour shy of midnight, it's buzzing with fashionable young people, tourists and residents alike. Somewhere upstairs is a safe house for the anarchs, but it's clearly not here. The entire first floor is taken up by a big open area. Blackjack and roulette tables scattered equidistant on the plush red carpet. There are the tables and railings are framed with solid gold edges, and the walls are emblazoned with expensive-looking artworks, tapestries, most of them depicting Gold Rush-era Buckley 100-odd years ago. Beyond the gambling floor, you can see an elevator door and a narrow stairwell leading up to the further floors. But there's also, a short distance away from it, on the edge of the gambling floor, a little bar. The bar is mostly empty. There's only one person there. The bartender, who's clad in a very posh-looking black suit with tailcoats, and you can't help but notice that he's peering over the gambling floor at the entrance at you. When he realizes that you've noticed him, he looks away, busies himself with cleaning a wine glass. What would you like to do?
Well, what are you thinking? Now bear in mind, we're going to need to wait for the others to catch up before we try our move. So discuss it rather than do immediately. What are you thinking?
I think we just go up there and ask.
The bartender?
No, there's got to be someone around here that's got a one of those cards that'll get us upstairs. Surely. So we just
go up
up
and ask.
Ask
Well,
who?
Yeah. They'd have to have someone down here who's aware of us and can send us up there, otherwise that would be very, very difficult.
See, that's why I'm thinking the bartender. He's the one who obviously noticed us. Well, let's collect the others and when they get back and head over to the bar and you can ask. She smiles at Gil.
You wait about 10 minutes on the edge of the gambling floor, watching the patrons play roulette, watching people whoop with delight when they win or scream and swear when they lose. The others are taking quite a while. They're out hunting. They could be gone for another 10, 20 minutes yet. And so eventually you decide, what the hell? Let's scope out the bartender, get a feel for what's going on, and then maybe when they arrive, we'll have a ticket in. You cross the gambling floor and a couple of the croupiers stop to watch you go. Once or twice they gesture towards an empty seat at the table, and each time you turn them down. You're just looking, you're just here waiting for someone. You don't have the time to gamble tonight, and eventually you slide onto the stools in front of the bar. The bartender looks up from the glass he's wiping. He's been wiping it for so long now that there's no way it could have any dirt remaining. It's clear he's doing it just to keep his hands busy.
Scotch on the rocks for me, if you could.
He nods, immediately busies himself. And before he pours it, he looks over his shoulder in case anyone else wants to make any other orders.
Yeah, Jack and Coke, thanks, mate.
Jack and Coke? And you, he says, his gaze lingering on Robert, hoodie pulled tight over his face.
Nothing for me, thanks.
Ah, designated driver, he says, winking. He slams Wisteria and Gil's drinks down on the bar, watches as you raise them, take a sip, just one sip. And the two of you are instantly struck with disappointment. When you were alive, you both liked nothing more than to settle down at the end of a night, enjoy a nice drink. You may as well be drinking water. You may as well be putting cigarette ash down your throats. You can taste nothing, and as the alcohol slides down your throat, it leaves an unpleasant burning aftertaste. So, what brings you in tonight? He says. I watched you come over the gambling floor. Didn't look like you were too keen on gaming, well, no offense, but people don't usually come here just to drink.
Well, I've heard you've got a rare vintage elsewhere.
Rare vintage? He gestures towards the counter behind him, the rows of bottles with multicolored labels. What you see's what you get. Unless, of course, he leans in and he says, you be talking about something that doesn't come in a bottle.
He glances over to Gil.
With Gil's level of streetwise and kind of awareness of this place, would you kind of get the feeling that this guy is suggesting maybe that he's dealing in drugs, or that he's talking something along the lines of what we're after now?
Go ahead, roll me an intelligence streetwise check.
I already rolled a 1 insight on it. You got 1 insight on him, so...
Get you in a moment.
If that's any help.
So I will say, Gil, with your streetwise that you have, it seems very obvious to you that this man's trying to proposition you in a way that you get the feeling he's testing the waters, saying something that could be passed off as relatively innocuous if you don't understand the code that he's giving you. But how many successes did you get?
I would like to re-roll because I failed completely.
Go ahead, spend a willpower, re-roll.
Spending that willpower, yep, but I got a critical 4 successes.
It's obvious to you that he's speaking in some sort of code, asking an innocuous question, and if you give the right answer, then he'll know he can trust you. But that specific question, something you don't get in a bottle, that's not exactly how you, at least in your experience, would expect a dealer to test the waters. Especially not in a place like this. You're in full view of the casino floor. There's a security guard standing over by the entrance, eagle eyes watching everything going on. This would be a terrible place to openly proposition a drug deal. He must be referring to something else. And with your 1 success, Wisteria, on your insight, you notice that as the bartender talks, there seems to be something in his eyes, a sense of recognition, a firmness, a resolve in the way he holds himself. You almost feel for a moment that he may not be entirely human, but he's definitely not kindred.
Wisteria lifts a finger, gently taps the artery on his neck, and smiles. That's an interesting way of phrasing things.
He nods, and as he nods, smiling back at you, a smile that's unreadable, he gazes at the other two, and his next words are smooth as a used car salesman's. And what about you? Looking for the same thing?
Yeah, we're just waiting for the rest of our friends to show up, but we're meant to meet some people here tonight. Some important people, you know?
Baron Wild, perchance? He says, raising an eyebrow.
Could be.
And may I ask what your business is with Baron Wild? I've never seen you around here before.
Introductions are an order we're given to understand.
Yeah, our friend Julian said that we should come on by tonight.
Julian! Oh, you know Julian, he says. He smiles. And Julian will vouch for you?
Certainly will.
So, Gil, I'd like you to go ahead and make me a charisma plus persuade check, but I will ask, do you have... Of course, you do have presence. You have awe. Would you like to turn the awe on and add an extra dice to your charisma?
Absolutely would.
So as you clear your throat and lean over the bar towards him, the light seems to catch you in just the right way, twisting the features of your face. When you lean back and smile at him, you're holding yourself in an entirely different manner. Gil, your presence, what does it look like? What does everyone around you see once it turns on? How does a bit of light in just the right spot enhance your friendly face?
So Gil normally has this, for lack of a better word, ingenue, where he's a very friendly face. People tend to like him. But with the presence turned on, he kind of has that look of the charismatic used car salesman, like the kind of guy who is going to give you the best deal he can, because he knows that you're just looking for something to get around town, and he's not going to mess you around. Yeah.
So I'm gonna lower the difficulty because of your ingenue trait. Go ahead, make me a charisma plus presence plus persuade check.
Certainly can and certainly have. I'm going to use another willpower. I think I'm getting real low on willpower tonight.
That's okay. You get some back very soon as this session ends.
That's 2 successes.
2
added
successes.
To the one that you re-rolled before, so 3.
Yes. So 3 successes. He glances over his shoulder at a landline phone on the wall, and as he strokes his chin, he whispers, I've got Julian's number. I could call him up, see if... He did mention something of a test. And then he smiles. And I believe I don't need to call him, because I know what he would say. He would say that there are 5 new licks in our midst, and that they will be on their best behaviour, doing their very best to draw no attention to themselves, and making sure not to say anything about the particular vintage they're after. Follow me, he says, as he leads you from the bar back across the gambling floor.
Bravo. Wisteria leaves $100 tip under her scotch. And follows him.
Before he comes out from behind the bar, he just lifts up the half-drunk glass, takes it, and smiles and winks at you as he folds it up, and he says, "Oh, you do that every time you come here, and you might have a friend among old Kofi." He holds out his hand.
If the service is as good every time. She takes it and shakes.
It's my job for it to be. The Baron would, the Baron would have things to say if everyone who arrived here didn't feel at home, didn't feel comfortable enough to... He's cut off by the sound of a slot machine chiming as someone whoops, "Ah! Jackpot!" He winks, and he says, "Well, you know. I'm sure you know of the Prince's clan and all," he says, as you arrive at the elevator, and he presses a button.
The Baron's
Go ahead.
clan? Can't say we do.
That fresh face, are you? He looks you
so.
up and down. White business dress? That particular shade of white? May I ask why you're wearing that tonight, of all things?
Oh. Is it gauche? I can change.
Not gauche at all, just, well, the Baron will be very, surprised. He shrugs. I can see it in your face. You didn't put that on because you were thinking it looked good on you. You put that on because, well, it was like the suit called to you, wasn't it?
Let's just say it's a bit of a message.
And one that the Baron, child of Set as he is, should appreciate. He winks. There's a bing as the elevator arrives and the doors open, and just before Kofi gestures for you to join him in the alleyway, Zarya and Barry arrive, stepping out of the shadows, past the bar, and as they arrive, you see this man, the bartender, short, stubby. He's not much taller than 5 feet, but the way he holds himself tells you that he's not a guy to be fucked with. He smiles as the two of you walk up. Friends of yours, he says, asking Wisteria, Gil.
Oh, yes. Just running a bit late. She snaps her pocket watch shut.
You have business with Baron Wild as well, do you? He says, asking Barry and Zarya.
That's right.
And he stops as his gaze lingers on Barry. His mouth drops open. You've been here before. You're that detective. You were checking the licenses about 6 months ago. I remember your face. I remember your face because you watched me. You watched me like a hawk as I got that liquor license out. Showed it to you.
And it seems I've had good reason to.
He smiles. Oh, I could tell back then you knew something was off about this place. Wouldn't let me in on it, but a detective, a distinguished detective coming in here to check a liquor license, it was obvious you were trying to find something. So I'll ask, he says, smiling, gesturing for you all to follow him into the elevator. And as you do, the doors whoosh shut behind you. Did you find what you were looking for?
No, not yet. But I will. I promise you that.
Mayhaps you will. He leans over the control panel next to the door, and you watch as he presses a sequence of buttons in order. 2, 5, 2, 5, 6, 10, 2, 5, 6, 8. And then all of a sudden the elevator lurches, carrying you up the shaft. You feel your stomachs. collapse in on themselves. The same feeling you'd feel on a roller coaster as it rises, about to crest a hill and send you plummeting down. You stand in silence for a single minute, then another, until finally the elevator lurches to a stop. There's a loud bing, and the doors slide open. Before you step out, Zarya and Gil, will you be doing the Blush of Life? It's probably not entirely necessary knowing you're about to step into the vampire's domain, but it might make you look slightly more presentable.
I think you meant Barry?
Yeah, sorry, Barry and Zarya, I mean, yes. Forgive me while I still learn the names of our characters.
I don't think Barry's going to bother.
I'm sorry, what were you asking?
If you'd like to do the Blush of Life or not.
For the rest of the casino, or to go into the rant itself?
For the rant, because you're about to enter the rant, so you don't think the Blush of Life would be that useful in terms of mingling with the mortals.
No, Zarya's not going to do it.
Yeah. And so you follow the others out of the elevator. Kofi leads you down a short, carpeted hallway to a set of double mahogany doors at the end, and then he bows graciously as he takes hold of one of the golden bars serving as a handle and pulls them open, admitting you to the rant. And that's where we'll leave it for tonight. Well done, everyone. You made it to the rant. You made it on time. You made it relatively well-fed and presentable. And now... And you found a clue. And now, as you step into the VIP lounge, aware of dozens of eyes watching you, judging you, taking sight of what must surely be Baron Wild at the very back, presiding over a long wooden table, dressed in a form-fitting white suit, so white that it almost blinds you, long, oily black hair, and a gleaming golden Egyptian ankh on his neck. You know that the next couple of hours will either be the very beginning of your vampiric existence, or the last hours you will ever live before being consigned to the final death. You each receive 2 experience points for getting to the rant in one piece and getting some investigation done on the way. And in addition, Barry, what are your convictions?
My convictions are that justice must be served, to never sell out a friend, and if they hit you, hit them harder.
And yet in a fit of rage, you disposed of valuable evidence. That's a stain. And Robert, you drained that man. Barely a man. Michael, the new guy. The guy you trained only a week ago. He pledged himself to you, and you took him. That'll be a stain.
Yep.
Anyone who spent willpower, you can regain willpower equal to either your composure or your resolve, whichever is higher. And now, until next time when you walk into the vampire's domain, when we experience daggers in men's smiles. Farewell. And remember, the kindred are always all around you.
Creatures Such as We is a Vampire the Masquerade 5th edition actual play podcast presented by DM Fiat. Creatures Such as We is based on a sourcebook by Brian Holland, available at the Storyteller's Vault. Vampire the Masquerade rules are developed by Onyx Path Publishing and Paradox Interactive and published by Renegade Studios. Portions of the materials are the copyrights and trademarks of Paradox Interactive AB and are used with permission. All rights are reserved. For more information, please visit worldofdarkness.com. The music used in this podcast is composed by Kevin MacLeod, Whitebat Audio, and Ivan Duke, and is used with permission.